Hello and welcome to my channel. My name's Michelle and this is my life experiment. Generally on this channel we experiment on my journey to become a minimalist, to organize my home, declutter my experiments with cooking. But along those lines of minimalism is digital minimalism. I have realized I am addicted to my phone. Time to start reading more and stop scrolling. Get rid of the just mindless distraction of scrolling. I've always loved reading, but in recent years, my phone has taken over my life. My computer has taken over my life. It's time to get back to reading. In September, I told you what my TBR, my to be read. So let's quickly go through what I said I was going to read in September. I was going to read the originals, The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, The Courage to Be Disliked, The Silva Mind Control Method, The Luck Factor. Those would be the non-fiction books that I planned on reading. Fiction-wise, I only read Murder and Cassandra in Reverse. In actual fact, on my TBR, I only read 3 of those books and I did not read the other 4. But instead, I read these 5 books. So let's wrap up what I actually did read. On the non-fiction side, this short little one, Turning Pro. That has more to do with this YouTube channel. I don't want to be an amateur anymore. I want to turn pro. Short little great book. He also wrote The War of Art, and that was fantastic. So I thought I would read this one, Turning Pro. I highly recommend it. On my TBR, I had this, Courage to Be Disliked, and I read it. This is not a shallow book. This is not a 5-step to riches or 3 steps to more productivity. This is more about your mindset, your motivation, why we do what we do. Not a shallow book, pretty deep. One of those ones I think I'll have to reread again to sort of get more out of it. But I'm going to do a video on this book specifically, so we won't get into it too much. The Gentle Art of Swedish Death Cleaning, because that goes along the lines of minimalism and decluttering and purging. I will talk about that in a future video as well, but that's almost like a must read if you're going to become a minimalist. Really short, really easy to read. Highly recommend that book. And that was it for the nonfiction side. I generally read more nonfiction, but this month I went heavy into the fiction. So on my TBR, I only read Murder. I liked it. It wasn't gory. It wasn't gruesome. There was a murder and then they went about solving it. It was good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. Nice read before you go to bed. Not too heavy. I also read Anne of Green Gables. This is a children's book, maybe pre-teen. It is sweet and wholesome, and I am Canadian and I have been to Prince Edward Island and I visited Parks Canada home that they call Anne of Green Gables because of course she's a fictional character, so there was no actual home. There's a few more in this that you can continue on, and of course there's TV series and Anne of Green Gables. Really nice read before you go to bed. I enjoy reading children's literature. I mean, it's a big book. There's a lot of pages in there. There's close to 400 pages. So it's a long read, but it's easy. And I like that. Fills your head with good things before you go to bed. I read these 3 in the Hunger Games series. You've got The Hunger Games, Catching Fire, and Mockingjay. I read all 3 of those. I wanted to read the new one, which is a prequel. I think it's called The Song of Songbirds or something. I wanted to read that one, but I felt like I had to reread these because I have read them years ago when they first came out. Rereading them now, I guess they're for teens. Violent, really violent. Lots of death and destruction and torture and mutilation and mind control and brainwashing, and wow, I wouldn't read these if I was a young teenager. maybe as an older teenager, but I didn't even like reading it before bed, which is generally when I read fiction because they're a little intense. Kind of like my easy reading better. But I read those three. I felt this month, to summarize, I felt that I spent a lot of time reading fiction, sitting on the couch reading, and I need to go, when it comes to fiction, more the audiobook route, because you put in an audiobook and I can clean my house and do all my gardening and rake my lawn, walk the dog while enjoying an audiobook instead of sitting on the couch just reading. Having said that, I need a physical fiction book to read before I go to bed. I like to read before I go to bed. It winds down. There's no blue light from a screen. So I do need a physical fiction book, but during the day, I'm going to try to not read so much fiction because then I get engrossed in the story and I don't get things done that need to get done, and it's much better for me to have an audiobook when it comes to fiction. So that is my wrap up for September. What I wanted to read, what I did read, and I'll talk to you in another video for October TBR, my October to be read, what I plan on reading, and hopefully I stick more to my plan in October. I'll see you in the next video.